welcome to Ask a Responsive Fundraiser, where we take your questions to a fundraising expert so that ultimately you can grow generosity. Today, we're taking your questions to Josh Burns. Josh is a husband, dad of 3, fellow Chicagoan with Kentucky roots, and CEO of Spark Collective, an agency that partners with nonprofits to grow their impact through digital marketing. With 15 years of experience working with nonprofits of all shapes and sizes, Josh believes that digital marketing is good for more than just measuring likes and follows, that it can actually grow your organization's impact. Josh, thanks for taking some time to answer these questions today.
Yeah, excited to be here, Scott. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. All right, we're going to jump into the first one. It says this: we rely heavily on email for fundraising, but our open and conversion rates are declining. So what are some strategies that we can use to improve our email marketing and turn more subscribers into donors?
Yeah, this is a great question. And I think I'm going to approach it from 2 angles. So first strategic and then tactical. So from a strategic perspective, the first thing I always like to do is define goals, make sure we're all on the same playing field here. It sounds like, from this question, the ultimate goal is driving donations. I would say, in addition to that, the goal should be providing value for your readers through these emails that your organization is sending. So that would be the second step I would take: is first define goals. Second, define the value that your organization is providing through your email marketing for your readers. And and one of the ways that I like to have organizations answer that question or define the value that they're providing is by answering a question of, why do people give to our work, right? And when we can answer that question for ourselves, that then informs the rest of the strategy that we take through email. So, most people give to the work that you're doing because they believe in the impact of your work, right?
Yeah.
And they want to see it continue to grow and advance. And so that's the value that you should be providing for your readers through your email marketing. And so, 2 of the typical ways that plays out is right through stories of impact, and then impact metrics, right? And and so if you can tell the story of your organization through those 2 lenses, then I think the way that you the approach that you're going to take to your emails may shift a bit, right? Where, um, yes, you're going to be measuring donations from your emails, but ultimately you're going to be asking yourselves, all right, what value am I going to provide, and what stories are we going to be telling through our emails? And so that's kind of a long first answer to that question, because I just think we need to set the table strategically before we even talk about like open rates, subject lines, click rates, and
Totally.
all of that. So that would be the first thing I would say from a strategic perspective. And then from a tactical perspective, right? Typically, the 2 metrics we measure are open rates and click rates inside of emails. And so when we dig into open rates, some ways you can potentially improve your open rates are experimenting with subject lines, right? Catching people's attention in their inbox. They're getting, emails, hundreds, probably a day in some instances. And so the importance of catching people's attention with that subject line is super high. And so one thing I always tell organizations: this is a free tool that anyone can use, but use Omnisend's subject line tester tool, and you can just you can put any subject line in there, and it'll give you a grade on how well they think it will perform based on different criteria that they have that they've put in place through their data. So that would be that. I use that. We use that here at Spark. Literally, for every email we send out, we run it through the subject line tester first. And if it's not at a 83% or higher in that grade level, then we look to try to improve that subject line.
Yeah.
So that's open rates, click rates. Some trends that we're seeing right now is obviously video, right? Everyone is engaging with video all the time
Yeah.
through all their devices. So utilizing video, putting screenshots in emails with a video play button, that will engage people, increase those click rates, and then the next one is kind of maybe unexpected, or at least it was to me. But a trend we're seeing right now is text links are working really well, and
Mm.
so people engaging emails on their mobile devices, and not all email clients are loading images automatically all the time, right? So creating hyperlinks in text or native text buttons inside of emails. We're seeing, those type of links are outperforming the graphic links by 60% or
Nice.
70% in some
That's
instances.
cool.
So, yeah, so those would be, sorry, kind of getting nerding out a little bit in email, but those would be some kind of strategy and tactics that I would recommend taking when it comes to increasing engagement
Yeah.
with your email. But everything you do, right? This is not just email, but in everything in digital should have the goal of inspiring people to take that next step with your
Yeah.
work. And sometimes that next step may not be a donation. Sometimes it may be clicking a link in an email to get to a blog post to read that story and engage them further in the story of your organization. But ultimately, right, like we can create a path for people to get to that point, whatever that ultimate goal is.
Yeah. All right. Second question we're going to jump into, it says this: our website gets traffic, but our donation page conversion rates are low. What optimizations can we make to improve donor engagement and increase our online giving?
Conversion rate is one of my favorite metrics to look at because it accounts for multiple different metrics at once. So, as a reminder, right, conversion rate is the number of key events or conversions on a web page divided by the number of visitors on that page multiplied by 100. So
Mm.
that's kind of the formula. But when you break that down, right, you're looking at the number of key events as well as the number of visitors to the page. And that's how you get to that conversion rate metric. So typically, if you're experiencing low conversion rates on a page, there could be a couple different possible explanations for that. Um, One is the quality of traffic you may be sending to that page may be low or not necessarily warm enough to make a donation. So in which case you may need to go back and look at the steps prior to people getting to that donation page and think, okay, how can we warm people up a little bit better to making a donation? Are there like better stories we can tell, or can we engage them in different ways? um, so one is the quality of traffic there. Two would be the donation page isn't optimized for conversions, right? And so a couple questions I would recommend asking there are: is your org's work and value prop clear on the donation page? Are you clearly communicating to potential givers what that connection is between their monetary gift and the impact of the work, right?
Yeah.
Whether that's like $30 a month provides clean water for, you know, 5 people in this village, whatever it may be, but drawing those clear connections for people. And then are you giving people clear dollar amounts, right? So they can see, themselves fitting into one of those buckets. Um, and then some other tactical questions I would ask are: what is the load time on your donation page?
Mm.
If it's a slow load time, people are more likely to bounce before they are engaging further. Is the donation form easy to navigate and to fill out? That's one thing I love about Virtuous is, all of y'all's donation forms are very optimized for conversions already.
Yeah.
So, you don't really have to worry about that. Um, And then are there multiple exit points on the donation page that make it easy for people to leave the page or get distracted and click through to something else? This is something that a lot of organizations don't necessarily consider or think about, and actually probably could try to make an argument that we want to have multiple links on the donation page so that people can click through to learn more about us. But in at least in our experience, the data that we've seen is that the fewer links available for people on a donation page, the more likely they are to convert to a donation.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so making sure that you're cutting through the clutter there and
That's
just
good.
providing clarity for people.
Yeah. It's awesome. All right, we're going to jump into question number 3. It says this: we know digital marketing is important, but as a small team, we don't have the bandwidth to do everything. So what are the most impactful digital strategies that we should prioritize to get the best results with limited resources?
Yes. Says 90% of nonprofits everywhere, right? Like
Yeah, right.
9 out of 10 orgs. This is every digital marketing team's challenge. So, and I've been there and sat in that seat and totally get it. So, I love this question. I think first thing I would say is audit first and then build a strategy, right? You don't know where you can go if you don't know what the data is telling you, and and where what paths you need to take, and and so so that would be the first thing I would say, is just like spend some time, and it does take time, but I think everything else after auditing will be more efficient because you actually know where you are.
Yeah.
So, and at Spark, all of our decisions that we make for organizations are based on and informed by data. If you're not making decisions in digital marketing based on data, then you're just kind of throwing stuff into the ether, hoping that it works, or throwing stuff at the wall. And sometimes it may work, sometimes it doesn't. And then, but you may not even know why, because you're not measuring and you're not auditing. And so that would be the first thing I would say, is audit and then build the strategy. The other thing I would say is, for most orgs, right, your best donors are the ones you already have, right? And so I always tell organizations that are strapped for capacity, strapped for resources, look at the people in your current donor base or database, nurture them first. And typically this happens through email, could be through other channels, but typically email or SMS are great ways to do this. Build a solid email strategy, set up the automations to nurture those people well. This is another thing I love about Virtuous, is like it capitalizes on the automation piece of it without losing the personalization piece of it. I think the tendency or temptation that we have today, especially in digital, especially with the oncoming of AI and everything, is like, how can we just automate everything and make it more efficient? But the thing that we sometimes overlook is the personal touch of it and the human piece of it. And so I think, again, that's why I love Virtuous, because you all kind of you hold those two things in balance, which is great. And I think, you focus on email, and then you can kind of look to expand and grow to your time to other channels. That doesn't mean that like all of your time goes to email and you're not, looking at social or website or anything else. I just think, like, if you're looking at prioritization, look at the channels that are going to best nurture those people within your donor base first.
Yeah. No, I appreciate that, and really appreciate too you sharing some advice that's both, again, strategic but also tactical, and some really clear steps that people can take to hopefully move the needle and continue to grow generosity. So Josh, thanks so much for taking some time to answer the questions today.
Yeah, thanks, Scott. So fun.